right to be here. The Bodhisattva is sitting there all alone. All of the deities who have been watching the struggle have all fled. They've all been terrified by the troops of Mara. But the Bodhisattva then reaches down his hand and touches the ground and says, "The earth shall be my witness." Perhaps many have seen the statue of the Buddha sitting with his right hand touching the ground. That's the earth witnessing posture. The Bodhisattva is calling the earth to witness to his own fulfillment of all the paramis. And when the Bodhisattva calls upon the earth to witness, then the earth shakes, trembles, and quakes, and sends out its applause, saying, yes, he has fulfilled all of the paramis, all the perfection. Then the hosts of Mara all become terrified, and all flee, and Mara himself recognizes that he's defeated and leaves. Then the Bodhisattva enters into deeper and deeper states of meditation, the 4 jhanas, in which his mind becomes perfectly calm and stilled. Then, with his mind calm and concentrated, the realizations of wisdom begin to unfold. These take place over the 3 watches of the night. In the first watch of the night, he recollects all of his former lives. He sees himself again and again through the innumerable kalpas, going through the stages of birth, growth, aging, and death. He sees himself with different names, with different forms, with different relations. He sees everything changing, transient, mutable. The dream-like quality of all forms becomes evident to him as he goes through one life drama after another, seeing how they all change and all fall away. In the second watch of the night, he develops the divine eye, with which he's able to look out upon the world and see the rise and passing away of all sentient beings. He sees how beings take birth according to their karma, how they reap the fruits of their good and evil actions. He sees the world systems evolve and dissolve, arise and pass away, and he understands the universal laws at work beneath the surface manifestations of things. Then, in the third watch of the night, he penetrates the deepest truths of the Dhamma. He discovers the law of dependent arising, paticca samuppada. He develops vipassana, insight into the real characteristics of all things. And he arrives at the realization of the 4 noble truths. At the end of the night, his mind is liberated from all the screens of ignorance, and he sits beneath the Bodhi tree, no longer a bodhisattva, a seeker of enlightenment, but now a finder of enlightenment, a Samma Sambuddha, a perfectly enlightened one. For several weeks, the newly enlightened Buddha remained in the vicinity of the Bodhi tree, contemplating the truths he had discovered. Then he faced the challenge of still one more decision, whether to go out and try to teach or whether to remain silent and stay in the forest. When he reflected for the first time on this question, he decided not to teach, to pass his days quietly in the forest and to enter into nirvana silently by himself. The Dhamma, he thought, is just too deep, and people are too attached to their pleasures and to their worldly aims. If I tried to teach, nobody would be interested in learning the Dhamma. No one would try to understand. And if I were to try to teach, it would just be too wearisome and too troublesome for me. But then his mind inclined in the other direction. And this change in his inclination is again illustrated allegorically in the text. It is said that when the Buddha decided not to teach, then Brahma Sahampati, the divinity who rules over one of the high heavenly worlds, comes down from this heavenly world and appears before the Buddha, speaking for all sentient beings in the world. He urges him to go forth and teach out of compassion for sentient beings. There are some beings, he says, who have little dust in their eyes, some beings who will understand the Dhamma. The Buddha then complies with the request of Brahma Sahampati. He gazes out upon the world and he sees that living beings are like lotuses in a pond at different stages of growth. He sees that there are some lotuses near the surface which need only the sun's rays in order to unfold. And in the same way, he sees that there are some people whose eyes are covered with only a little bit of dust, who need only to hear the Dhamma to open enlightenment and to gain deliverance. And when he sees this, he makes the decision to go forth to teach. For his first hearers, he chooses the 5 ascetics who previously used to wait upon him, but left him when he abandoned the course of self-mortification. These ascetics are now staying at the deer park at Sarnath near Benares. And as the Buddha approaches them, when they see him coming, they make the collective decision, not to get up and greet him, to treat him casually, without any special respect, because they all agree that he's one who's fallen away from his high aspirations, one who's reverted to a life of luxury. But as the Buddha approaches, as he draws near, they can't maintain their agreement. His bearing, his figure is just so majestic, his faculties so pure, his expression so serene, that they get up to greet him, take his bowl and robe, bow to him, and express their willingness to listen to his words. In the first discourse, the Buddha then explains to them the middle way.